Hello, good night.
Hello, Gali. How are
What?
you?
I'm good. What about you?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm sorry for yesterday. I had to leave
No worries.
the class.
I know that you're working and I completely understand the situation. I am
Thank
just
you.
looking for somebody for start the lesson.
Yeah.
If you think that it's possible that you turn on your camera or it's impossible?
Yeah, but let me start in the computer. I think that it would be better, but or from here to 30 minutes because
Yeah.
after it could be a little bit. But only I have a question because yesterday I could listen about the essay or something that the
Yes.
topic it is
Yeah, yeah,
a
yeah.
essay or
Yeah, do you remember that I put like some topics in the WhatsApp group? The idea is that you select one, your favorite one, and you create an essay of one page. Tell me about, the circumstances that you believe that can be relevant in this matter and your opinion. Obviously, you don't know how to create an argument, so I cannot make that you create one. But basically, the basic structure of one is the general, the particular, and the conclusion. So the general is the topic, for example, pollution. Then you have the particular that is like, hello. Then you have the particular that is like, how is the pollution in Mexico? It's just example. And then the conclusion is like, what is the result about the little research that you do? What is the solution that you can propose to the one that is reading your article? What maybe you can change or adapt some public policies in that issue? That is the plan. That you select one, you have a huge list of options, so you select your favorite one, or what do you think that can be the most relevant? Can you hear me? Hello.
was let me
I can hear you. I guess that is your connection because
either
mine is. I am in front of the router.
I said what but I know when
I cannot hear you. Can you repeat, please? Hello. I can hear. Can you hear me? Because I cannot hear you. Can you?
I can hear you, but ready. I bring my this thing.
Yes, I cannot hear you. I cannot. Hello? 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 Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. So what you ask? I cannot hear you.
Hear me? Ready. I bring my this. Could you hear me now?
Just a little bit. I understand. Can you hear me now? But after not, like before not, sorry.
Maybe like this.
Yeah, will be better. Yeah, now continue talking.
No, nothing. It's only that I had that doubt, but I already select one topic and only develop in the conclusion. And when
I guess,
I
you know
must
what
send you.
happens? When you turn on your camera, you start to ask like for more internet and the quality starts to go down. When I have just audio, I can hear you perfect. But when you put the video, it's going so bad, the signal.
Yeah, it's the internet of Kuwait.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so the thing here is you select one, you talk about the general and the particular and the conclusion. The idea is like by the end of this week, I mean on Sunday, you can drop or you can send it to me to my email and I will check it. And then I will give you the feedback the next week. That is the last one. I am waiting that maybe Nicolas arrive. I will put today a test that is as soon as Nicolas arrives, I will put the test online because he asked me for arrive later a little bit. So yeah, we will have a little test as I told you yesterday. And we have this activity that is present, that is safe. Moving from that, do you have some doubts or some questions about what we saw last night?
No.
No?
Well, only only the about the topic, but I think that I understand what is about environment law and all of these issues, and it is something good. I don't know. I think because I think that is growing nowadays. These kind of topics,
Perfect.
and
Now
that's
that I
that.
am with you, just with you, I will explain you this a little bit easier. And if you didn't understand it, you just tell me and I will do it in Spanish because that takes us years to understand.
Yes.
In all areas of law, depending of the part that is involved in a case, one of the parties has like just for the position, other level and for other for I mean other qualification on other possibilities in the same process, you know. So I yesterday I can't remember if you listened that or you disconnected before, but the thing is the best example of this dynamic burden of the proof is when we are involved in a case where one of the parties is a physician or is a doctor in cases of medical negligence, right? It's easier for the doctor put all the proofs in the process because it's the same hospital where he is working. He can all the legal capacities to understand what happened. He can also have all the knowledge about what happened. And if he needs to prove something, all the documents will be easier that catch it or that um, the doctor can take it. But by the other hand, the client or the one that is doing the claim against the doctor doesn't have all the document and doesn't have all the knowledge and doesn't have all the possibilities for be against of that. Okay? So this is the example, pero es muy importante comprender. Esto se llama la carga dinámica de la prueba. Y básicamente nos habla de una teoría que coloca en conocimiento y nos explica que quien tenga la posibilidad de facilitar las pruebas a un proceso solo por su posición, por el estatus que maneja, por su conocimiento, por su experiencia, se va a encontrar en la responsabilidad de otorgar todas las pruebas. Para quien es más fácil entregar todos los exámenes, los análisis médicos, las correspondencias. Para el médico que trabaja en el hospital, ¿qué le queda más fácil? Pedirlos y localizarlos que para la persona que está presentando la demanda. Entonces, esto es una teoría en derecho probatorio que se aplica a todas las áreas del derecho y básicamente es que aquel que tenga una capacidad casi que preponderante sobre la otra parte va a estar obligado en otorgar las pruebas que se necesitan. El juez lo puede obligar a que esto pase, pero generalmente se presume que lo va a hacer por su cuenta porque se está entendiendo como la magnitud del asunto. Eso te lo quería explicar, no estoy segura si ya te desconectaste antes, porque es un tema bastante complejo y es un tema que necesita paciencia para poder comprenderse.
Sí.
Y a nosotros nos tomó muchísimo tiempo entenderlo y cómo funciona en cada área del derecho es un tema gigante. Pero como aquí estamos haciendo un resumen del resumen del resumen, porque es un curso súper especializado, solamente aquí estamos viendo cómo se manejan los mismos términos en inglés, pero en tu caso toca comprenderlos para saber de qué estamos hablando. So the dynamic burden of the proofs actually is so used in environmental law. Because of course that if we are talking with an industry or we are talking with a factory that cause a damage into the environment, for who of the parties will be easier do the proofs or create all the evidence? For the government that doesn't have like all the knowledge and specific experience in that matter, like one agent of the government can go and can ask, and maybe they can have the same information but in double time. But if the factory or if the company has like all the proofs that they act in a good way, they will present them to the judge. Eso es lo que nosotros llamamos una prueba indiciaria. Y es, el que no se equivocó debería presentar las pruebas, ¿verdad? O sea, ¿por qué voy a esconder, si yo soy una compañía, por qué voy a esconder las pruebas que se dictaron o las pruebas que existen? No, como siguiendo ese acto de buena fe, yo voy a entregarle toda esta información al juez. So this is the perfect example about how these duties works in the real life. If we are talking about a contamination of a huge company in the river, what will result easier for me if I am the judge? I will ask like for all the proofs to this company. But also some things that happen in life is so evident. I don't need to create a huge analysis for understand that the river now is contaminated, because I can take other ways of evidence. I can take pictures, I can make videos, the people can do interviews, the people can come and testify in the trial. So it's not just necessary that we can create a perfect proof to show to the judge. If I don't find the best one, I can take other ones in the same level, you know?
Yeah.
Until there, is everything clear?
Yes, I think that I understand. I don't know. It could be like, for example, in the area that I'm studying, like when a controversy or a conflict between the embassy and maybe an employee, that sometimes who has all the proofs or all the documents is the embassy, not
Perfect.
not the
Exactly.
person.
So who has the dynamic burden of the proof in front of the judge in the example that are you giving me tonight?
The embassy.
Perfect. Yeah, because the status, because the embassy in your example has other legal capacity and other responsibilities that means that it's easier for them take all the proof that the judge needs for create the case, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. So until now, it's perfect. That is the concept. And that happened a lot of in environmental law. Here, I guess that we finished here last night, but you didn't was here. You didn't be here with us. So here we have, depending of the topic that we are discussing, we have some companies that can invest billions and hundreds of billions of dollars for try to create studies that justify the use of the product. The best example that I can give you is Coca-Cola, Coke, right? They invest a lot of money trying to creating a huge publicity image, like so strong one, and that is basically life, like the last Coke in the desert. But the reality is all the contamination issues, all the diabetes issues that has the consumers of these products, and all the bad stuff kind of be covered by the publicity that they do, but also they start to put finance on some projects just for have like a goodwill, you know. They support some policies, they can create programs and help some concerts and like managing the media. But the reality is like, I just taking Coca-Cola for Coke for all the examples because it's easier. But can you imagine how this product exists in the little towns of all the world, and how all these plastic bottles will finish like on the earth? in the ocean, rivers, wastes, cities, capitals, of course that they have a huge responsibility. The damage can be different if they continue using other kind of possibilities, right, to the customer, not just plastic, right? Right? We can talk, or we can use glass, and the impact can be different. But the reality is like they are not doing all the effort that they should. And it's not just these companies, like all the people, all the companies around the world, and people also. Because we, for us, in our rush to continue living our lives the best as we can, the reality is like we cannot like be responsible about it. We continue using plastic bags. Imagine all the markets and all the centers. And basically, I guess that our generation is trying to moving on this and using other kind of products, but we still having this problem and will continue to affect us. So when we are talking about proofs, as you can see here, we have like the preponderance of the evidence. During the majority of civil trials, a plaintiff has the burden to prove the case by a preponderance of the evidence. This means that the jury will need to be convinced, based on all of the evidence, that there is a greater than 50% chance the defendant caused the harm alleged in the lawsuit. Esto es un tema que se maneja mucho cuando vemos como las películas estadounidenses que tienen un jurado y que el jurado son las damas de familia, el señor de negocios, como intentando representar todos los componentes de una sociedad en un jurado. Sí hemos visto esas películas, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Okay. The reality is like in Latin America, the jury doesn't exist. We have like the judge. But basically, the preponderance of the evidence is a theory that talks about how I should put one evidence over the other one, depending of the rules that I take it, right? Exists other theory called like the poisonous tree. That means like if you have an evidence by an illegal way, of course that you cannot use it in a trial. Esta se llama la teoría del árbol envenenado. Si por ejemplo yo tengo la prueba de un asesinato, pero porque yo chusé, en México se utiliza ese término, las chuzadas, como hacer una interceptación ilegal.
No, pero pero sí entiendo a lo que te quieres referir.
En Colombia le decimos las chuzadas. Si como policía yo no tengo una orden judicial para interceptar un teléfono, significa que yo llegué a esa información que es verídica, que es un delito, que es una prueba, pero como no llegué en el camino que debía hacerlo, es decir, pedir la autorización al juez para interceptar el teléfono, como lo recaudé de una manera ilegal, yo no la puedo utilizar en juicio, ¿verdad? Entonces, esta es una de las teorías que influyen en esta discusión del juez entre cuál prueba va a pesar más en un juicio. Esa preponderancia, ese debate, es lo que está aquí explicado. Siempre te vas a acordar de esta teoría, ¿no? Eso es lo que hace el juez, analizar las pruebas de parte y parte y ver cuál pesa más, cuál tiene como más peso y en base en eso crear una sentencia. Entonces, obviamente, este ejemplo está en el marco de un proceso civil, pero como nosotros estamos hablando de derecho internacional y derecho del medio ambiente, sucede lo mismo. ¿Quiénes hacen esta preponderancia? Las cortes internacionales. ¿Y quién está de un lado y quién está del otro? Dependiendo. Si estamos hablando en el Estado, está de un lado el Estado representando como la población en general y del otro la compañía. Pero cuando la responsabilidad ya admite y se configura como internacional, ¿quién está de un lado? La víctima, es decir, una comunidad indígena, un corregimiento, un grupo de personas de un lado, y del otro lado vamos a tener el Estado. Siempre, como lo vamos a ver ahorita, hay diferentes principios que si yo puedo probarle a una corte internacional o a un juez que esos principios se violaron, ellos van a declarar la responsabilidad internacional. Y al declarar la responsabilidad internacional, dentro de muchas medidas que se toman de acción, de repetición, de no repetición, de garantías de no repetición, de como todas las acciones que puede tomar el Estado para indemnizar a esa víctima. Entonces, no es solamente dinero, también otras medidas que pueden ayudar a que el hecho no se vuelva a cometer, ¿verdad? Hasta ahí, claro, ¿no?
Sí.
When we are talking about international responsibility, we have the national sovereignty, and this is so important because, of course, that I can make a government responsible about an action. We will discuss the case of the subway in Mexico City, right? Who has the duty to oversee and to check that the subway is working in the correct way? The government of the citizens or the citizens?
No, the government.
The government, of course, right? And this is a case that at some point can be solved in an international way. But when we're talking exactly of environmental law, the damage in the most of the cases is so irreversible. The affectation you cannot put in back. Things happen with life, but as we are talking by a mistake of the government, it's easier that they propose an indemnization for that life, for their lives. Some of the matters that they can take into account in this case is like they can, I don't know, check as a government check all the structure more frequently for prevent this kind of cases. They can also create a monument for made memory to all the victims. They can and they can give some psychology company to all the families of the victims. And that doesn't mean that it's just money, that it's just indemnization. No, it's a measure that can be used for for try to give them the hope that this case doesn't happen again, right? When we are talking about this international commerce, we have, as I told you yesterday, that maybe you wasn't here. But the thing is, depending of the country, we export or import some issues. And of course, that depending of the country, we can affect in a different way the environment, right? It's not the same if I am creating a huge metal extract in a town in Bolivia, that if I am putting oil on the ocean in Brazil. Of course, that the affectation is huge, but the consequences can be so different, right? Because, for example, in extraction, you kill the place land completely, but then kind of you can control this contamination. You can put it like in a huge circle, and it's really hard that all these chemicals and all these really bad products go out of the circle. But if I put oil in the ocean, it's no way that I can prevent it. Not easier. Will be, or if I put oil in a river, I will affect a lot of communities that is like downhill, that all the people that have direct or in an indirect way connection with that river. And it's so easy that you can be out of control. Do you know what I mean? And that happens when we are talking about a wide scope. Cuando estamos viendo este asunto desde un punto de vista completamente internacional. Esto pasa con la fama que tienen el comercio, no solamente el comercio, sino la manufactura y la creación de productos electrónicos en Asia. Claro que la contaminación es diferente. Ese es solo un ejemplo, of course. Depending on the case, I can talk about different kinds of contamination. The example of Asia is like they use, for example, batteries with lithium, and they are assembling and creating all the wastes in that part of the continent, even of in that continent, in that part of the world. Even if the product I am selling, if I create the iPhone in one part of Asia, if I sell it in Europe, the affectation is different. Even if I am creating the product here and all the cost of transportation, if I sell it here, the wastes and all the manufacturing issues will be here. And of course, that will be under this law, right? And following that point of view, depending of where you are in the world, you have a stronger law or you have a weakest one. That is what the multinational check. If I can avoid some international responsibility for contamination, going to work in Thailand, of course that I will go to do all the manufacture there. Because if I don't have to pay to the government for all the contamination, I will save some money that I can invest in other parts of the company. But the reality is like we didn't identify us, like all that is happening in Thailand at some point will affect us here in Latin America, because they can put all these chemicals into the rivers and that to the ocean. And then at the end of the day, we have that contamination at some point of Latin America, you know, some coast of Brazil and some coast to Australia, you know.
Yeah.
So I need that in these kind of lessons, you start to understand what are the huge consequences that we can have from from an action that occur in the other parts of the world, and how we can ask by a social responsibility of that government. That is happening. That is the main problem or the most important issue that we have with US, that they are producing like the half of the contamination in all the world, and they don't want to accept all the international treaties that protect us, not just protect the citizens in US, but protect us for the damage of that industry is creating worldwide, right?
Right.
Okay. So this is just an example. We have some radioactive materials that can be the contaminated soil, the radionuclides, the cesium, cobalt, ionizing radiation, plutonium, or strontium. Of course, that we are not scientists. We cannot define them or where we can find it. But we know that as just thinking in The Simpsons, we understand that all these radioactive materials need a specific treatment. And if I don't put it, or if I skip one page, one step in all this way, I can affect a lot of communities and I can affect society. Why I'm putting this topic here? Because this is opportunity for lawyers for work on it, you know? If I need to represent one of these companies in a case, just because they are using cobalt in the production of phones, how I need to start to create a strategy for defend the company. What do you think? If I am defending the company, what I need to prove?
That I'm not affecting or I'm not doing a damage to the environment.
Yeah.
And
how I will do that?
I don't know, maybe creating, I don't know, something that can engañar. I don't know, for example, that
escape the reality, change the reality, cover the reality, lie.
yeah, maybe saying that I'm not affecting or doing some actions that could say that I'm protecting the environment, but I'm doing a damage. I don't know. I think that most of companies are doing something like that, like Coca-Cola, that
Yeah.
I'm doing some actions that could could create a other reality where I'm a good company, that I'm protecting the environment, but in the end I'm doing a damage. And maybe with that I can, I don't know, maybe I can avoid some consequence, or I don't know, I think.
Perfect. Now we will imagine that you are the most powerful and rich company in the world. So if you want to prove this in a trial, you need to have experts, right?
Right.
If the company don't have boundaries, talking about money, of course that you can pay to the best scientific study and explain that other companies maybe create a huge, or they create some consequence, a harder consequences, or a strongest one that you. And if it's like kind of exclusion, right? Why you are following my company if you have evidence that the other ones affect us a lot of human rights or whatever? You can create the strategy that you want, but what is the problem in these issues is like in the some of the cases the government doesn't have all the strategy, doesn't have the lawyers, doesn't have the money, doesn't have the interest. And if we are talking about the corruption, just the company put a little bit of money on the government and that's it, you know.
Yes.
So that is the thing, right? That of course that we can have, I have company. That can be the huge possibility,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And that happens in international responsibilities, that for the corruption they pay really good researchers or scientific stuff for present reports in an international court, saying that even if this contamination, the affectation is not so huge as use other kind of products that we use all day and all time, right? Right?
Sí, right.
Perfect. So this is one of the articles that touched me, and you can see it online, check it when you have time, it's not now. But how works the private interest and policies? How we have this false sense of security around the world? How we really believe that the government will kind of cover or rights when they have inclusive some parts of percentage in a company that belongs to private but also to the state. So if the investor is the state, how the hell they will cover you about the same action? Doesn't work in this way. Hello. Hello, Nicolas.
Good evening, Gali.
How are you? Okay, we will just start. I know that you have your good connection. I need that you please answer this, and after that we will continue with the lesson. That will take just 1 minute. I was waiting for you because I promised that I will do it today, and it's so easy. It's no way that you fail, Carla and Nicolas. Just try to select the closest one.
I finished.
Oh, I'm not the first one. But I think that it could be. I hope. That's
Gali,
it.
I thought we were gonna do the other sessions that we missed.
Tonight,
The contract.
tonight, when we finish this session, we will continue. I will continue with you.
Great.
No worries. Okay, perfect. Espérenme, yo tomo nota.
I'm not. I'm.
No, estuvo bien, estuvo bien. Voy a ponerlo aquí.
No me equivoqué.
Hay un errorcito pequeñito y los dos la tuvieron, los dos tiraron la misma respuesta. Y es el primero. Acuérdense que tort law significa responsabilidad civil contractual y extracontractual. Si bien las otras eran ahí corchadorcitas, la responsabilidad civil, bueno, esto no lo tendría por qué saber Carla. La responsabilidad civil comprende responsabilidad civil contractual y extracontractual, pero no es la mejor traducción, ¿de acuerdo? Y el tema de justiciabilidad, que estoy segura que esa lo puso Carla, porque alcancé a monitorear las respuestas. Digamos que en muy amplio concepto sí, pero era una cáscara. No sé cómo le dicen en sus países cuando el profesor se va de rata, pero, pero es pura cáscara. Bueno, importante que se guarden eso en su cabeza. Tort law significa responsabilidad civil contractual y extracontractual, que está dentro de la responsabilidad civil, desde un término general, y esto está dentro de la justiciabilidad de un caso, ¿verdad? Que es como tener opciones reales de justicia, ¿de acuerdo? Yo les había prometido que íbamos a hacer esto hoy, estas 2 semanas que se vienen, ni siquiera, ya menos de 2 semanas, son las más pesadas del curso, porque es donde me toca ponerme a sacar notas a lo bestia. Entonces, casi todo, por ejemplo, los que se conectaron hoy, no tengo manera de decirles, ah, te hago el examen nuevamente, porque todo esto está quedando grabado. Entonces, si por X o Y no se pueden conectar, ya se me sale de las manos, así decimos. He intentado hacerlo más de paciente, reagendar, etcétera, pero bueno, si no se cumple con los requisitos, el certificado no llega, y eso es algo que tienen que tener muy claro. Otra cosa es el tema de que yo pueda reagendar las speaking calls, porque yo tengo como esa autonomía, ¿sí? Pero en temas de la aplicación, a mí me toca sí o sí sacar notas, y por eso estaba esperando a Nicolás, porque él es súper puntual, o sea, no lo voy a dejar por fuera, no puedo ser tan rata, pero, pero, pero pues hay temas que yo sí no puedo cambiar, ¿me entiendes? Así que todos estos días, soldado advertido no muere en guerra, todos estos días vamos a manejar quizzes, ¿sí? Con cositas que hemos visto, ya vieron que no es difícil, de resto está súper bien, el deber y damages, son daños y perjuicios. Ahora, afectaciones económicas, digamos que no es la más adecuada, ¿sí? Si ustedes están aquí es porque precisamente necesitamos perfeccionar ese vocabulario específico. Entonces eso es lo que estamos buscando con estos tests, que haya como una completa identidad. Ahora, con las notas de los speaking calls, eso se balancea, porque estas son solamente un porcentaje, es el 30%. Pero con los speaking calls van súper bien porque saben que son artículos que se discuten, que se analizan y la opinión, pues ustedes tranquilos. Hoy termino con Nicolás y esta semana espero también hacerlo con Carla. Quiero tratar esto de balancear toda esta semana y no estar la última semana corriendo con notas y despelotes. ¿Listo? Bueno, antes de que... Perfecto, gracias por su tiempo. Vamos a finalizar aquí. Bueno, entonces, we were discussing with Carla before arrives Nicolas that we have this false sense of security around the world about that the government or that a nation can completely protect all the citizens about all that can happen around environmental law. But the reality is that especially your countries, they invest in or they put money in some businesses. Carla, I guess that I lose it. Hello. It's time. Do you have to go for your work? Hello.
Hello, I only change.
No
I
worries.
have to read in the computer.
No worries. I will put the first survey and then I can fill it. I can put it like to my supervisor before you leave because I know that Carla has to go soon. Give me a second. Thank you. Perfect. So I was telling you that in the most of the cases, the government invests money in the private sector or they have companies that are mixed and they have like conflicts of interest when we are to them because how they can guarantee that they don't will affect a community if they have some actions involved, right? If they have just by public policies, it's really hard to identify these matters or these issues. And I recommend that you start to check this conflict of interest, how works in environmental law in some international cases. We have the most harder or no, it's not the most strongest ones exist in US and Canada, right? Because the government tried to impulse all the economy from the business sector. And I guess that for this reason, they didn't want to accept the treaties protecting the environment, especially in US. But Canada is the opposite. And they prefer like lose some money, but don't affect the lifestyle or the quality of living of their citizens. And you can find a lot of articles related. So it's a topic that you can go really, really deep. Also, I recommend you, when you have time, going to the live sessions of the Yale University. They have an expert, teachers or professors related in environmental law, and they discuss about principles, they discuss cases, and especially they start to explain some specific proceedings when you are working with tort law in that state. And it's amazing because the live sessions is just a class as you were in jail, and you can listen the opinion of the students, and you can listen some recommendations of books or materials from the lawyers or the professors. And also you can really improve your vocabulary, like related and following the rules of law of that country. So they are really, really good, and they have a huge live sessions for environmental law. If you want, I can send you some links, and after that, just by the recommendations of YouTube, you can moving forward. I cannot change now. I want that if you maybe have time, you can start to check some of these articles that I just mentioned, and following the intersection of tort and environmental law, where the twines should meet and depart. So we have, esto me toca hacerlo en español. Carla, ¿tú sabes qué es responsabilidad civil contractual y extracontractual? Sí, no, secretico ahí al micrófono.
No, no, no mucho.
Súper, no tenemos problemas. Bueno, todo el tema de responsabilidad civil es un área súper importante, larga, extensa del derecho, que nos menciona que todo acto trae sus consecuencias, ¿verdad? Algunas consecuencias se pueden prevenir desde el punto de vista contractual, pero otras son solamente por razones del azar, de la naturaleza, etc. Uno de los casos más famosos de responsabilidad civil está dentro de la responsabilidad médica. Esto lo vamos a comentar en nuestras próximas sesiones cuando hablemos de negligencia médica. Yo te voy a comentar uno de los casos más famosos que yo estudié en la carrera para solo causarte una conexión mental. Y es un médico, por error, dejó caer, o sea, nació el bebé y dejó caer el bebé de sus manos. Y le ocasionó una parálisis cerebral severa al niño. Nunca pudo recuperarse de esta situación, ¿verdad? Entonces, dentro de la defensa es esa pérdida de oportunidad de configurarse a sí mismo como un elemento esencial de la sociedad. Porque nunca, o sea, y me acuerdo muchísimo de este caso, porque la mamá decía que nunca va a poder conocer a ese médico, a ese abogado, a ese ingeniero, a ese músico, a ese artista, por algo que se escapa de la responsabilidad de ella, ¿me entiendes? Entonces, básicamente es que la ley te permite, mediante unos procedimientos, poder exigir una compensación, una indemnización a raíz de un daño que puede tener un origen contractual, es decir, que no el origen del contrato, es decir, que se pague una penalidad si el arrendador no entrega el bien con todos los servicios públicos al arrendatario, porque va a causar una afectación, ¿verdad? Es decir, la responsabilidad nace del contrato. Si la responsabilidad es solamente por cuestiones de vida. Un ejemplo muy famoso de responsabilidad extracontractual es cuando yo saco a pasear el perro y mi perro muerde a la señora. Todos los gastos médicos que vengan de ese actuar me van a corresponder a mí porque yo tengo la responsabilidad sobre el animal, ¿verdad? Eso es responsabilidad civil extracontractual. Súper sencillito. ¿Ya? Te puedes graduar como abogada. Entonces, cuando nosotros tenemos este choque, or the intersection about tort law and environmental law, is all the theories that discuss how we should act in the front of one of these cases. and how we can remember the example that we were discussing about how the embassy has the duty to prove some aspects that can be resolved or can result difficult from the employer, no, from the, ¿qué fue lo que dijimos? Yeah, for the employee. The same happens in these areas or in these cases, and it's like what they are trying to do with putting tort law and environmental law. They are trying to create a precedent, and this precedent start to be bounded by the corrective justice. That happens in criminal law. That is following the same principle of criminal law. Why I am putting punishment in some citizens of my community? Because I need to create the social idea that I am applying justice following the intention to prevent that the same crime is going and happen again and again and again. I am trying to do the correction, right? Same that would you apply some kind of punishment to one kid, right? Or to the dog that not make be inside of the house. It's the same. I am trying to create a corrective justice. And here we have the principles. You can check it in the bottom. That is the link, and you can go and see it whenever that you want. But I try to take the most important ones. Ooh, we have 7 minutes. So we have the first one, that is the prevention principle, and is the responsibility that have the government to respect some international obligations that I accepted and I incorporated by a conventional treaty to my law system or to my legal system. And is how this state has the obligation or the boundaries, the responsibilities to prevent the damage, not just for the citizens, but for everything that is under the jurisdiction, right? Sometimes, in some cases, I didn't affect lives, like human lives, but I affect some natural resources. So it's like preventing environmental harm is cheaper, easier, and less environmentally dangerous than reacting to the environment harm that already has taken place. That is the principle. For me, this is just a topic because it doesn't happen in the reality. If we all act following this prevention principle, we didn't do our lives as we know it, because everything that we do daily affects the environment. And that responsibility, of course, that is like a common responsibility. But this principle is also so important when we are trying to discuss the guidelines depending on the topic, right? For natural resources, for have oil, gas extraction, for talk about pesticides, talk about plastic uses, talk about wastes, damages. This prevention principle, following the United Nations, should inspire all the contracts, should inspire all the negotiations, businesses, all the acts that we should take all day or daily. Also, we have the responsibility as a government to have control about everything that is happening or under my jurisdiction, right? Even if I have invested in the same area, even if I am an investor of extraction of oil and gas, my responsibility and my duty as a nation or a state is try to ensure that I will act following the international rules, and that I will make that all my community be secure against of this act. And the injuries result from violation of this general accepted rule. What is a principle? The general accepted rule. If I put some principles in a treaty and I accept the treaty, of course that I am accepting in direct way that all these rules go inside of my legal system because it's conventional, right? Es un derecho convencional, ¿verdad? Si yo pertenezco a un estado que ha ratificado ciertas declaraciones o convenciones, claro que yo puedo acudir a cualquier juez en materia nacional y exigir que se me respeten esos principios de carácter internacional. ¿De acuerdo? Eso pasa en derecho privado, penal, en penal, sobre todo cuando estamos hablando de limitaciones a marchas o protestas o a derechos de libre expresión, ¿verdad? Que es lo que está pasando en mi país. Entonces, es muy importante tener esto claro. We are talking about this, about public and about some requests or solicitudes that we create in an international legal system. We will use the word injuries, but also we can sue them, okay? The duty. What is the duty that we have? And is the stop or to stop the wrongful conduct and reestablish the condition that existed prior to the wrongful conduct. If it is impossible to reestablish the pre-existing condition, the state should provide compensation. We will imagine my case again, that the government, at some point of our history, the government has information about that some groups, illegal groups, will affect some companies that extract oil, and the government has this information, and they didn't prevent it. They didn't create a stronger security system. They didn't create some measures for try to avoid this affectation, because they wait until the damage happens. And here we are discussing the theories about if you have the duty to prevent this kind of act and you didn't do nothing, of course that we are, I don't know what happened. Of course that we are involved in a case from a different point of view. And I need to reestablish that. I need to try to create a circle of contamination and try to prevent that all this oil didn't go to the river and of course to the ocean. That is the warranty that I should accept and that I need to create being part of the government. Okay? Super claro, importante. Then we will see this one and we will finish. We will start with our session. So we have the principle of common but differentiated responsibility. This principle has like two elements, as you can see. The first is the common responsibility of the states for the protection of the environment. And this means that the states should participate in the world effort for conservation. But the second element is the different circumstances of a state. And we are talking about equity, and how it's really different if you start to put on the under the table what is the legal capacity and the economic capacity and all the development that has some countries if you put it against the other ones. Of course that I cannot make that the all the acts that create the government in Australia be the same that we are asking to the government in Bolivia, because our communities are different. The consumption process is different. The creation is different. How we invest, how we export, we import, how we consume, right? So basically, it's like we need to check what is the capacity of developing countries and how they can prevent some acts that maybe can be less advances. I cannot take the same legal advices to the companies here in Bolivia. I cannot create the same projects. I cannot create the same like research. We cannot do the same research because we don't have all the technological skills or tools for create the same result that in Australia or in Germany, right? So this principle kind of telling us that with all the tools that you have as a government, you try to do the best work that you can, right? And that is related with the topic that we were discussing last night, and is we're putting a declaration in our legal system, but of course that we are multicultural, we have another responsibilities. And when we start to go inside in these kind of faculties that we are applying in an international court, we start to see that we in paper we have the same responsibility that Canada, and all the system is completely different, and all the society is different, and they have like other perception about recycling and about the education, how this takes influence in the decision of the citizens. We didn't have this. The people is putting all the wastes on the street, the adults, So what the hell we can wait? We can wait from, or we can expect from the next generation. Okay. We will finish with this. Super. Carla que tenía que irse. We will finish with this. And from now, we will start with our speaking call. So we will start to going and moving from this. I send it to you.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the video of immigration.
We will start with immigration law. So you saw the video, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my God, Gali, it was one of the saddest videos I ever saw in my life. Why did you send me that?
No, I didn't send it to you. I sent it.
That video. I swear. I swear.
No, I sent it to all my students. Not just you. Yeah, but it's for the activity that we will realize tonight. So I want that you put yourself in the paper that you are representing one of these guys, or a group of people, or a group of immigrants, or a group of child, or whatever that you want to put in your mind. The idea is that you can like recreate the same scenario, the same legal scenario. What will be your strategy, that you show me your strategy with the information that you get from that video, how you will manage your strategy in front of the judge for defend one of these kids. Whatever that you want to tell me, if you want to go by sentimental way, if you want to go by international duties, if you want to go by the personal situation of the kid, what are you asking for, like to the judge, what you need from the judge. And if they didn't tell you, what is the second option that you will give me? Okay, if you will appeal, if you will not appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sort of.
Okay. So because you
okay,
like a lot of things, a lot of distractions here.
Yes.
Yeah, it looks like a pharmacy.
I like it.
Yeah, but actually it's the office. I cannot change it.
Well, you have good internet, right?
Yeah.
That's it. You're
It's the only place.
having a
It's
hard
the only
time
place
with
that
your
I have.
internet.
Yeah, it's the only place where I can have, because I am like in a house, and the best internet I have it in the office. But if I'm going to the room, or if I'm going to the hall, I lose it. So for that reason, I am here. But it's like, yeah, it's like I have the whole office here.
Nice.
It's not mine. I'm just using it.
It seems cozy, at least.
What is that?
Cozy? It's like comfortable, someplace where you can be.
It is. Yeah, it is. It's just I just been here for the session. because all the day I have to
Volunteering.
be with them. Yeah, it's like uh, depending of what you want to do, right?
Mhm.
And it's really hard because, of course, that they are demanding for your attention
I can
because
only
of their,
imagine.
yeah, because of their personal experience. I have some kids that they just were living on the streets for their families. And if you start to see the consequences, you can see the consequences of that feeling of feeling lonely and feeling sad all the time, feeling worried about that they believe that this refugee would put it out in every second. And how do you start to use some strategies, some mental strategies for control you, for call your attention, for you start to see how is our society. And this is just the volunteering that I choose for give all that I have, um, or the best of me in this situation. But this happens same in Colombia. And how you can, it's like it's not reversible. Even if you, all of this is what they consume just for prevent that they attacks themselves, that they attacks each other, that they start to become violent. And it's like you see that reality and you start to understand that your life, that you are like sometimes worried about some stupid things and that really they didn't have um, other possibility, even what they want, and how we are full of opportunities. And I guess that I am believing that I'm coming for help, but the reality is like I have 26 teachers every day, every second, how they eat, how they share, how they. Um, Today we do like a meditation session,
Mhm.
um, because I love to do. I'm not doing yoga or whatever. I'm just doing meditation for my mental health. I do
Mhm.
it all the time, and I start to do it with them, with the girls. That is the one where I'm more in contact because we have like this sex part, like the room of girls, the rooms of and everything. And I am sharing this as personal experience because when we start to talk about our fears and how we control our fears, and they start
Mhm.
to open their hearts and explain that they are feeling that all the people around them will abandon them, you start to crush your reality. Some of them has like 20, 25, 28. And they didn't will have other chance, even if they wanted. And you start to
Mm,
analyze
it's hard.
how,
Wow.
yeah, how it's not
It
their
puts you
fault.
in perspective, right?
Yeah, it's quite selfish if you want to put it in that way, but it's the reality. I start to analyze that I am so blessed and what I am doing with that blessing. Just worrying about myself, just working because I love the job that I do, but then what is doing the government for these people? And you start to analyze how maybe from your career you can start to create another impact. Because one thing is that they are asking for love, and that I hug them, and that I give them cuddles, and that I give them presence and kind of security for a couple of weeks or for a couple of days, whatever that time that I be here, that I don't have any idea. Maybe I just stay here 6 months. I arrived here because one friend from Colombia volunteering with the same organization for 10 months. And it's like, wow, it was like, and now I'm starting feeling why? Because you are getting attached to them, because you try to help them all the time. So
I see.
now the thing that I want that you create is I am just giving you a perspective and a story. This is what I am living, and I like to share what I'm living.
Ah,
I want that you try to put yourself in the situation that you are representing. What was the problem of that video? That these little kids, just for the legal system of US, they doesn't have like
they don't have a
legal
lawyer.
representation. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it doesn't
Exactly.
have.
They don't have
I
a
want
lawyer.
that you. I want that you become that lawyer, and I will close my microphone and I will listen to you. Okay, you have time.
Okay. Uh, well, firstly, what I could notice in the video, uh, what you just highlighted. We need to give these kids, these children, because that's what they are. They are abandoned children. The possibility, at least the possibility, to have a reasonable legal representation in all of this process, because it's not the kid's fault. Like, it's not like, hey, yes, I'm 13 years old, I'm going to USA to the border. No, these kids are brought by their parents or by their families, by other means that they don't get there alone, right? They don't get them by themselves, but they are alone there. So I believe it's of paramount importance to give these kids and these children uh, aid, legal aid, social aid, economical aid. Uh, Last year, I saw a lot of cases with the Trump borders, and people getting practically being in jail in these borders. And well, these people are practically left for nothing. They're worth nothing, for supposedly nothing. And I believe that the government, especially the U.S. government, that uh, you said it, it's the principle of the common objective, differentiated responsibilities, right? The USA can implement a program, can create an institution that specializes on these cases. And I believe there's a good movement to build even a foundation that can help kids on these situations.
What more? What more do you want to share? Remember that I told you that try to focus in what is your final request. What if you have that possibility to ask for protection? What do you want from your client, from the kid that you are representing? And if you have to create the history of one of them, what you can tell me? I want that you start to create the reality that you want for one of these kids.
What I would like for my client?
No, like if
I don't understand the
you
question.
try no, if you need to create a strategy, a legal strategy,
Okay.
and we will suppose that I am your judge. What history? You know what is the result, right? You know that you have a little child in front of you, but try to show me the history that you believe that is or that belongs to this little kid. What is the strategy that you will use? You will talk about I don't know, that is a Colombian girl that arrives to US following the dreams of their dad or whatever, or you will discuss about I want that to create a case that you, of course, that this will come just for your creativity,
Mm,
and that you put the final request following that case. Everything that you told me is perfect because it's just the first part. But if you need to talk about the particular one, I want that you create the case in your mind. You know what I mean?
uh, I understand half of it.
Yo quiero que tú le digas al juez en inglés, estamos aquí enfrente de usted porque estoy solicitando protección para esta pequeña niña que se llama Cecilia, que viene de El Salvador, que lleva 20 años aquí en Estados Unidos, toda su familia, pero ella es indocumentada y lo que le estoy pidiendo a usted es que realice la protección para su tanita, dándole todas las medidas, todas las garantías en educación, en salud. No puedes repetir mi caso y tienes que hablarme de un argumento completamente diferente. Y si eso no es posible, voy a solicitar ante usted la apelación de este caso, mediante X o Y cosa. Eso es lo que yo quiero que tú crees. Que tú te coloques en el papel de representar uno de estos casos
Okay.
como resultado de tu imaginación, porque ya sabes cuál es el resultado. Ahora quiero que tú me
Ajá.
formules mediante una estrategia jurídica cómo le presentarías al juez la historia que vas a crear partiendo de ese resultado.
Um, okay.
¿Te aguanta tu tiempo? Tenemos 40 minutos más. Mentiras. Dale unos 2, 3 minutos, no tienen que ser el que speech, pero esa es la actividad.
¿Quieres crear un speech? Mm, okay. Because I was trying to analyze. I try to analyze the video. I thought trying to analyze the video, and one thing that I could notice was how hard was to give these people in these situations papers because of their illegal status, right? Como que me costaría hacer ahorita me cuesta hacer una estrategia legal porque en el presente es muy difícil que a estos niños los tomen en USA y les den papers. Están parados y están siendo deportados.
Bueno, entonces, ¿qué le pedirías desde tu análisis y desde tu percepción, que es completamente subjetiva? ¿Tú qué le exigirías al gobierno si tú estuvieras representándolo? Si tú estuvieras sentado ahí con él al lado, con ellos, con ella, con el grupo, ¿tú qué le exigirías? Es que eso es lo importante, aquí no hay respuesta correcta o incorrecta.
What I
¿Cuál
would
es tu
ask
análisis?
for the US government would be to ensure, firstly, the security of my clients, of the children. Secondly, the security, then they should ensure their mental stability or psychological stability because they're kids and they shouldn't be on that situation. And third, I would try to help them with ensuring education because this last part is very important because I put myself in place of people that are on this situation, and it must be really hard to que se inserten a la sociedad, reinsert to society, because you're a child and you're entering a new continent and you don't know anyone. So the government should regulate and supervise that transitional moment from where you're stuck in the border with problems to, okay, I'm a US citizen and I'm studying in school. So I believe that part is where the government should most ensure the rights, the kids' rights.
Okay, and you ask for some indemnization. If you if you have the opportunity, you will ask for money or not?
Yes, I would
How
ask
much?
for compensation
How much
for
and for which concept?
well for the concept of psychological damage or probability of psychological damage, yes, I would ask for the on the tort law.
What more?
Using tort.
¿Qué otra cosa podrías alegar en un punto?
Estoy pensando solo, aquí solo encajaría, para mí, it would fit the psychological damage, uh, mostly.
Ok, perfecto. Súper. Bueno, muchísimas gracias. Ahora nos vamos con la del siguiente, con la del 14, que era un ejemplo de contrato laboral.
Mhm.
Súper. ¿Lo leíste?
Simple contract. Yes.
Perfect. So I want that you
It was
explain.
it was the first contract in English that I read.
Okay, nice. I
One
want
of the
that you
first.
please fill it out, like that you tell me what was the most important part or the most interesting topic that you found in
Mhm.
this contract that you share it. Telling me if you have the opportunity to find your like the best job that you can ever imagine, and you will sign a contract that will belongs to this company or to this organization or working with the government, how do you feel it? What about your vacations, about your salary, about your position, your duties, your responsibility? I want that you share to me what is your dream job.
Okay.
Nice.
Well, what I thought that was really interesting in this contract was the probation period.
Mhm.
In this document, it states that the employee will have a temporary time where he will be tested, and if he fits the requirements of the for the employer, he can stay and have benefits. I thought that was, and I thought we managed the 90-day period probation in Bolivia. That's how we handle it. But I was surprised because this contract that I believe it's from Canada or UK, right?
Mhm.
It says 30 days. It says, I'm sorry, 90 days.
Yeah,
So, en eso se parecen las legislaciones con la mía.
perfect. It's similar, the legislation.
Ujú.
Okay. Y si estuviéramos hablando del trabajo de tus sueños, ¿qué te gustaría hacer con tu vida? ¿Cuánto te gustaría ganar? ¿Cuántos días de vacaciones? ¿Cuál sería tu horario de trabajo?
Okay, I would like to be lawyer of Google.
Nice.
Yes. My position title will be Chief Legal Advisor, Google Corp.
Nice.
My compensation would be $1,000 per day. It's my dream job.
Yeah, for sure.
And well, my vacation will be, I will be entitled to have 3 months of vacation per year.
What about the schedule? How do you will manage it? How many hours per day do you want to work?
8.
It's interesting because
And
when I do this exercise with some of your partners, they say, I want to work 4 hours per day. That's it.
and there's not a possibility to do a performance review. Nobody can review my my performance. No chance.
Okay, what more?
Eh,
What about the benefits? What are you asking for benefits to Google?
insurance,
What more?
a good private insurance,
Mhm.
dental insurance. It's so important. Uh, there's these really good packages of if you have an emergency and a helicopter comes pick you up.
Yeah, I know
I would
that
love to have that
in the
benefit.
reality. I know it. A friend of mine in Tarija, her dad, actually her dad died, but before, just for COVID, but before that, the insurance take a private airplane and they take it to Sao Paulo in Brazil just for medical
Wow.
attention. Yeah, she's quite rich and they cannot save their lives, but they do like all the economical efforts for save him. And
Mhm.
they put it here in Santa Cruz for a couple of weeks in, I can't remember, in a hospital that asked $1,000 per day. I don't know what is the hospital, but it's one of the top, and they cannot save him. He,
Mm.
her family is owner of vineyard, and yeah, that happened. And I saw it in the reality, a private airplane, like a medical airplane, just for tickets
Wow.
from here to Bolivia, to here to Brazil. That will cost a lot of money, and just by the insurance that they had as a family.
Yeah, there's some insurance packages that oof, they do the work.
Okay, yes, continue. What about other kind of benefits? Like, do you want that they give you a car, that they give you an apartment, they give you what?
They give me wow, yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, they can give me housing and transportation all year long.
Nice. What more?
What else is in the contract? Benefits, compensation.
Your all the duties, your obligations. What do you want to do for them?
I'm sorry, what?
What do you want to do for them? What about your responsibilities? What do
Uh,
you want to check? What is your job basically? What do you want?
I will be in charge to secure and close all the private contracts for Google.
Nice. What more?
And I would be the head of the management team, and I would have responsibility over people that I oversee or are below my degree.
Mm-hmm. Or your department under your
My my
department.
department, yes, in
Okay.
charge of my department.
Yeah. What more?
Mm. We're being creative. I like it.
Is my idea. What more?
Um, Vacations. Maybe I can have. I will have bonuses, compensations. How do you say in English? In Christmas bonus, end of the year
Huh?
bonus,
Yeah, extra payment.
extra payment, extra payment. Yeah, I will have extra payment for at the end of the year.
Nice. Nice. Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing your dream job. I always like to do this kind of thing. Okay, we are moving to the article of the European Union on protecting work rights. And I want that you express your point of view about it.
Okay,
What do you want to share
Gali,
with me?
I haven't read that last one. I didn't have time. I'm sorry.
No worries.
I came as fast as I could from my office, I I, I,
No worries.
I called you.
We will do this. Actually, I put it that you recover your decisions and I close my report. But
Mhm.
we will do it tomorrow. Okay?
Okay.
If you can connect. Yo mañana en el horario te voy a pasar doble. sea, te voy a colocar en 2 sesiones. Voy a intentar hacerla continua para
Ok.
que lo leas, el último que queda, y hacemos la actividad de mañana. ¿Listo? Y así cerramos, porque ya quiero cerrarte a ti y poder pasar con Carla o con la siguiente, con Paula. Me deben un montón de sesiones. Entonces, listo, no te preocupes. Cerramos acá la sesión de hoy, lee el artículo que te hace falta y mañana de una vez lo recuperamos. Ya luego yo sigo y organizo con Paula.
Mil gracias, Gali.
De
Gracias.
nada, de nada. Y entonces, si
Bueno,
quedamos, acuérdate que mañana hacemos quiz también.
ujú,
Súper.
me parece.
Y listo. Bueno, muchísimas gracias por tu tiempo.
Thank
Hablamos
you very
mañana.
much, Gali.
Te mando la actividad para que estés pendiente. Y bueno,
Okay.
buenas noches. Que
Have a
descanses.
good night.
Good night.